Hello, welcome to the Creators Guild podcast. I'm Chris Howell, and with me,
Jared Lovelady.
and we are here to talk about all things creative. And we have another creative here with us again. You will recognize
Lynn Combs.
she is here with us today,
Yep.
and you can see her fancy
Duncan.
book. We've talked about
Yay.
Duncan a little bit before.
Yes, we have. We have.
We introduced it with you, and then Jared and I, some time ago, we talked kind of about doing kid stories and
Yeah,
what it takes to
yeah.
get into the market and whatnot. And so we shared Duncan the Dragon
Yeah,
again.
you should have hollered at me.
So,
Yeah.
but you're here with us again
Yes,
today.
definitely.
How are things going with Duncan?
Really well. I'm excited. The biggest news, I don't know if I shared this with you Saturday, but I sold 2 copies in the UK. So I
Yes.
am now international,
Yes.
you know.
Go get
Yeah.
your copy of an international children's book. Duncan the
Award-winning.
Dragon.
Yeah.
Award-winning international children's book.
Yep.
Bam. Look at that. Can't get any better than that, right?
Exactly. So that was quite a feather in my cap type thing. So it was really exciting to see that.
Nice.
So because they pay 3 months back, I'm still waiting on that first royalty check.
Yeah.
It'll come at the end of May. So
$1 million?
yeah. Oh no, I wish.
$1,500,000?
Not that big, but it's nice. It's
Yeah.
nice, definitely. And just the thought of having that and seeing that, and I got the email saying this is how much you're getting and everything else. So I still got to wait another month to get it, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Every little bit.
Every little bit helps. Every little bit is nice.
Definitely. So, but it's doing really well. I've had to order, I'm on my third order of books now.
Nice.
So, and I'm going to have to get one more before the Between the Pages conference. Because I've got, Solander Press, the one who helped me publish it, is having a table there, and all of the authors there are getting to put their books out on that table. So,
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, we haven't mentioned if anybody is an author, a writer, and you're looking for a conference to go to
Yeah.
to help with writing, Between the Pages. It's
Yep,
coming up
I'm on
in,
the board. So, yeah.
That is, what are the dates on that?
June 6th, 7th, and 8th, I believe.
Yeah,
that Thursday,
the first full weekend
yeah.
in June.
It's Thursday, or no, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That
Yeah.
first weekend, yeah. So we've got some excellent speakers. Jennifer, what's her last name? I forget, but she was there last year and back by popular demand. She
Gotcha.
was very dynamic. Lot of fun. Her stuff was really interesting. She does a lot of marketing and that kind of stuff. So Xavier Poe is speaking. Poe Kane is speaking. So this is our 5th year of a conference. So
So if you are a writer, if you're an author, you can go to, it's just
Between the Pages Writers Conference. If you Google that, you'll find it. Early Bird Special is up at the end of the month. You've only got a couple days left.
we kept forgetting them.
Yeah.
Totally forgot to mention it. So if you listen to this right now, and you're a writer,
Yeah,
you want to go to a
hopefully,
writers conference in Springfield.
Yeah, sometimes they extend it, so that I'm not that high on the board that I can do it, but
But it's at the Doubletree again in Springfield,
in
Missouri.
Springfield, North Springfield, Doubletree by Hilton, beautiful hotel, nice. There are special room rates if you want to stay, if you're coming from out of town. So you want to jump on those room rates as well. So they'll save you some money, and good food. Instead of a continental breakfast this time, we're having the full buffet breakfast both days. So we're talking eggs, bacon, sausage, the whole bit. So, come and eat.
That's all I'm going
yeah.
for. Just food.
Yeah, but no, they have the breakout sessions. You can choose from several. The schedule's online. You can learn about the speakers online. You can, it's really good. Yeah.
I got to go to part of it last year, and then had a kid end up in the hospital, so I had to leave. And I'm like, well, that was an interesting 2 hours, 3 hours of conference.
Yeah.
I had to leave. Hopefully that doesn't happen. Nothing like that happens this year.
So, but yeah, we'll also have a book room. Book room is open to the public. Even if you just like to read, you can come. I want to say Saturday afternoon. They open it up to the public so people can come in, look at local authors. Well, not just local. I think we have
Anybody
7 or 8 states represented there at the conference. So, yeah.
Yeah, so all different genres, all different writers. They come from all over to attend and attend, go to those.
Oh, yeah.
Go to those different breakout sessions and whatnot that'll help improve their writing. But like you said, that also gives them an opportunity. Those who have elected to do so will have their tables with booths where people can come in from the community.
Yeah, and
meet those
order
authors
books and
order books. They'll have books available.
Oh yeah,
that's a good spot to go get.
Oh, definitely.
Signed books, signed copies, and merchandise.
So it'll be on the schedule. So even people not attending, they are also offering 12 contests, paid cash prizes. Pretty much anyone attending the conference can enter. The cutoff date on that is May 1st. So again, coming up close.
Write really fast. Apply and write really fast.
So
it's coming from us at really short notice. So,
but so and it feels good to win some of them, and so our group has sponsored one, the speculative fiction group that we're part of. Springfield Writers Guild has also sponsored one, so we're not eligible for those, but any of the ones that we don't sponsor, we can be part of. So you get to network, you get to meet a lot of people. I've learned so much from
that's the big thing. That's the big thing. If you're a writer, I mean, that's Jared and I are we've talked about going to Tremendicon. We like going to Tremendicon and Extremicon, or the cons we went to last year, and then the BTP between the pages last year. And the biggest takeaway for me as a creator is being able to network with people in the public and, of course, get our faces out there and get our stuff out there. But the bigger side is connecting to all those other creators. Or at the BTP, between the pages, connecting with other authors. Because building that network gives you those opportunities to, you'll find inroads with publishers and editors and illustrators. And, just the list goes on and on and on of all the different contacts you can make. And networking you can do through those
I recommend you guys, there's still time to get swag in, get something about the podcast in, and think of all the people you can have a whole lineup of people to interview.
Yeah,
so,
we
still have time. Yeah.
We should definitely get some swag in.
Yeah. So you can bring it to the picnic next, the family picnic next month.
We still have time to get it in there before the swag bags are packed.
Yep. They'll be packed the weekend before the conference. So,
so we'll have to think about that.
So if you need help designing something, that's another creative outlet that I do. A lot of design. I made my bookmarks. I made my own business cards, all of that. So,
So see, there you go. Networking.
Yes.
Way to do it. And if you sign up, you get swag bags.
Yes, with all kinds of goodies.
Yeah.
I've got something really different this year. I'm gonna.
But no
hints this time.
No hints. No spoilers.
I like doing very unique things. So
last year, wasn't it? Everybody got a pony.
Oh, I wish. But last year I did erasers that said the only mistake you can't edit is the one you don't write.
Yeah.
So a couple years back, I did writer survival kits. And they had like a mint to keep their writing fresh, and it had lifesavers to help with writer's block, and paperclip to hold it all together, and several little things in a mesh baggie, and with a little kind of book that explained it all. It was fun. It went over really well. So yeah.
A helmet with a decal that said "Slam Head" here.
But yeah, I like doing things that are different. A lot of people put bookmarks in and business cards and that kind of stuff, or like cards that have other things on it, but do something that stands out.
If
And
you could find a way to put a steak, be like, open up the swag bag and be like, oh, look, here's this nice prime rib with a little horseradish. Amazing. I love this author.
you wouldn't be forgotten.
Yes.
Although keeping them fresh would be the whole.
We write magical stuff.
Yeah.
We've got to figure out a way to put a little magic in the bag, and we're
Sprinkle
done.
a little magic on it. Yeah, there you go.
Perfect.
Definitely.
But Jared, that'll have to be on our to-do list.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll get it down.
Figure out.
Yeah. Start
figure out the
researching magic books. Yeah.
Magic. How to make magic so we can give away steak swag.
There you go.
We can, on one side of the steak, it'll be Chronicles of Duradim with our
seared in
logo, and on the other side, it'll be the Creators Guild podcast. And it just depends on which way you open it.
Yeah.
Oh, what's this? Let me scan this steak with my phone.
Yeah. QR code.
Yes.
That would be, I would love to see that. That would be fun.
Yes. So. Maybe someday we
Yeah.
can create magic and make those happen.
We don't want any rancid meat, though. Yeah. That would not be so pleasant.
So yes, go get Duncan the Dragon. I'm going to sit this down so I don't knock it over.
Yeah.
Also, we haven't thrown out the plug yet. Go get A Flight from Shadows if you haven't yet.
Yes.
So we've mentioned the last couple of episodes that the book is with the editor right now.
All right.
So
yeah,
we got a little bit of feedback so far, but not enough to do anything with.
Yeah. I've picked up a little bit of editing myself since we last talked. So Anton Strauss, his fourth book, The Ring, I just finished editing that for him. And he had one section through the book that he wasn't really, one part of the storyline he wasn't really happy with, and it felt really good to find out when he emailed me back after getting all my notes and everything. He says, "You have just solved this one section that I've always had a problem with," and I'm like, yes,
nice.
So it felt good, and I enjoyed
Earl
it.
had to die.
Yeah,
that the takeaway.
Yeah. So it went really well, and this is actually the fourth book in this series, so I haven't read the other three yet. So he did a really good job for someone coming in on the fourth book. There was enough backstory in it so you didn't totally get lost, but it wasn't so much that if you had read the other books you'd get bored with it. Okay. It's like, I know this, because I've done that with series before.
We've had, how many times have we had this conversation, Jared? About my personal thing is I'm like, I don't want stuff repeated.
Yes.
If a TV show comes on, if it's like, we're going to give you a recap of season 2.
Yeah.
And it's been 3 years since season 2 and season 3 came out. I'm like, I don't want to see your stupid recap. Get me back into the...
there were a couple little references that I could see, okay, that happened before, and it actually made me want to go back and read about it because it looked really good.
Yeah.
But it was just enough that I didn't get lost. But I could see if I had already read that, it would just be a quick little snippet, and it didn't really, break the fourth wall. It didn't take you out of the story. It was just enough to be there. So it was very well done in that sense. Yeah. And then coming in on the fourth book, I didn't get lost.
And that's something for me, like there are authors that have written, like you might be 4 books into the series, and they drop the reference into some past thing, but they drop it in a way like it's in the dialogue.
Yeah.
Like I might, it's, Chris and Lynn were sitting at the table having a conversation, and Chris turned and said, "Remember when Duncan the Dragon came out and you were on the show before and blah, blah, blah."
That's enough.
That's enough to be like, instead, but what happens all the time is it'll be like
they'll rehash the whole conversation.
Chris, or even if it's just Chris asked Lynn about that. Remember, so you're here talking about Duncan the Dragon, and then they go into a description they narrate.
Yes.
The narrator says, Lynn was on the podcast previously in which she presented Duncan the Dragon, and now the copies are blah blah. And I'm like, I already know this. Stop telling me. If you're gonna tell me again, do it in a subtle way that
enough
I
to
don't
know that this has been a previous conversation.
Yeah.
So we're moving on.
Yeah.
You know.
Do it in a way that I don't know that you're telling me.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, I don't know, maybe it's something to do with like a opposition to authority, you know, where it's like, well, now I don't want to know.
That's stubborn pride. We all get it.
I was going to go eat breakfast, and I really want breakfast, but you just told me to eat breakfast, and I'm not going to. You know, I don't want your rehash.
That, or you get it to the point. I remember this was a hard one for me growing up. Was you know, I'm going to make myself suffer and you're going to see, you know, and the only one who's affected by it is myself, you know, and no one else cares, but you know, you're going to see because I'm going to make it.
Yeah. Like, I bet they are really sad that I'm sitting in the snow right now and it's raining, you know, it's sleeting on my head. And everybody's in like, well, this
doing their own thing.
This is really good food and it's warm in here. Where is Chris? Nobody, oh, well. Let's enjoy our food. And meanwhile, they're going to feel really bad when they find out I've been sitting. I chose to come out here by myself. Exactly. Sit in the snow and rain and be miserable.
Yeah. And the only one who's suffering is you.
Yes.
But I think we all have to go through that, you know, at one point in time.
Yeah.
You know.
But that is what I feel like when authors rehash. Is I'm like, oh, stop it.
Yeah.
Stop retelling me stuff.
Especially when they break you out of it. So,
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, if they do it subtly, there are some authors that I've seen that have done it subtly.
Yeah.
And in a way that I'm like, oh, they just rehashed and I didn't even realize.
Yeah, exactly.
That just reminded me of this thing.
Yeah, he did the same thing about 3 times, and I told him to take the other 2 out. You said at the beginning, you gave us this little history, take it out the rest. We already know in this book, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, and he did. So yeah, it was really good, and he writes conspiracy theories, so it was a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to going back and reading, but you know, my reading shelf is like long right now, you know. Every time I get a book, it goes on the left-hand side, and then they slowly move up as I read them, and then they go down to my red shelf. Mine is,
I'm like, get your audio. That's why we want to get an audio book out, because I'm like, where's the audio book? So I can read.
Are you guys going to do it yourself?
No.
Well, we might end up having to.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll see.
Did you hear Amazon is now offering AI reading?
Yes.
I really am skeptical on that one.
So from what I've seen, people commenting on it who have done it, is that like the voices aren't quite there yet.
Yeah.
Like there's some pretty good AI out there. It is a way, like I've read books, I've read through stuff using like Microsoft
AI,
Word, the integrated reader. Yeah. Where I can be like, okay, I need to read through this. I don't have time to sit down and read this 40-page document. I mean, even like in the Writers Guild, the competition that people submit to, like the last competition, there were, I don't know, 27 or something like that.
28 entries,
So I just put them on, fed them all into
the reader,
put them all into a document, and then I'm like, read this to me.
Yeah. So.
And that way I can hear, and it does a pretty, it's, you know, there's some little quirks here and there, but it does a pretty good job of reading. When it comes to like putting out an audiobook,
no.
I don't know about that.
Well, I do that with my young adult mystery or fantasy series, Avalina. You know, because you get as a author, you know what it says, and you've read it so many times, you'll skip right over mistakes.
Yeah.
Because you know in your head what you're reading, even though it's not what you're reading. So I use the reader a lot so I can hear it, and I'm like, wait a minute, that didn't sound right. So I'm able to go back and actually look at it and really look at it And with hearing it and seeing it, then I can find mistakes that the spell checker didn't catch because it's a real word but the wrong word, or something like that. And so it's one of those things. It's a good, useful tool, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, we did that with book 1. What did we read through?
We read it twice, and we had AI read it.
But I was thinking did we read through it 2 times with AI?
Yeah.
Because I mean, we read it out loud.
Yeah.
We'd go back and read through out loud because it's both of us reading.
Yeah.
But we went through, like, one of the things, we had AI read the entire book out loud to us, so we could go through and follow along and catch up and whatnot. So it can be a helpful tool.
Definitely.
You know how much it would cost for me to?
Oh, yeah.
Unless I'm like, duct tape my kids to a chair and be like, read my book.
Yeah.
You sit here and read it to me. I need to hear it.
Yeah, yeah.
And be like, no, British accent.
No, definitely. And that's why we have beta readers too.
Yeah.
That's the whole point. Because they're going to see things that we read right on over. Yeah. Because we know in our head what it says, Yeah. So, yeah.
Yep.
So all those little things. That another reason for the conference, You get beta readers. You get, connections.
So that's another... I don't know. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
See where AI, as much as people like it, dislike it, whatever, it's coming.
Yeah. Yeah.
Stuff like that's on its way.
Yeah.
I've
dipped my toe into the water, in the sense where I started with just my author bio, and I fed it in and said, can you help me clean it up? And it did a really good job.
Yeah.
Doing that. And I don't mind AI as a tool. But,
that's where I'm like, I want AI to do the crappy stuff that I don't want to do.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, okay, I've got to take this document and convert it to here and do this. And I want to be able to say, like, we're trying to convert, we write in Google Docs together because we can both be writing in it at the same time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, well, now I need to take this document and export it and put it into this format and do all the things. And I would like I can do this. It's going to take me time.
Yeah.
And literally I know how to do it. It just takes time.
Yeah.
But if I could say, Microsoft now has, Copilot.
Yeah.
If I could be like, hey, Copilot, take this Google Doc and we have book 1, A Flight from Shadows.
Yeah.
I need book 2, To Bind with Blood. It needs to be formatted identically.
Yeah.
So go take all the stuff that I'm going to have to do manually to reformat it. I've already got the document formatted. So you just take all the text and import it in and format it to exactly this format.
Yeah.
And be smart enough to recognize, here's my chapters.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you'd think AI, those are the kind of things that I want AI to do for me.
Yeah.
Like, I already know how to format this. But now it's the manual process. But I'm like, AI, you'd think it'd be able to say, well, I see where you have your chapter looks like this.
Yeah.
Do you want, but they're all identical. All your chapter headings look like this. Should I break it apart in this way and match this format and be like, yes. Or be like, nope, your breaks are going to be here and here. For every chapter heading. So fix that break and then copy all 52 chapters. So I don't have to go through it 52 times and reformat it. I already have done that. I'm like, let AI do that for me.
Yeah.
I don't need AI to write my book for me.
Yeah.
I want it to do the dumb things.
Yeah.
Like wash my dishes.
Yeah, I was going to say there's a meme out there that says I don't want AI to do my drawing, my art, my creativity, my this. I want it to do the laundry, the dishes, that kind of stuff. So I can do my creative stuff.
I'm like, we had the storms come through.
Yeah.
So there's a window to my right. See all the trees.
Oh, yeah.
We haven't been able to mow the back because it's been too wet. We started and then it rained again. And then a storm came through today. And we can see there's a whole tree down in my backyard right now.
But
I can be like AI. I want to write my book. Go chainsaw the tree for me.
Yeah, no, the mowers came through last night, and so all the grass shavings were still there. So when that thing came through, my car was covered in wet grass.
Yeah. Be like, AI, go wash all the grass off my car
Exactly.
that's now plastered to the car.
Exactly. So they picked the wrong time to mow, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I have the at least the advantage of living in an apartment, so they do the mowing and all of that, and I don't have to worry about it. So, but yeah, there was wet grass everywhere, wet grass clippings, I should say. Yeah.
And now, today.
Yeah.
This morning there were tornadoes and stuff that came
Gosh,
through.
yeah.
Trees are down all over the place.
Yeah.
We're running on a generator right now while we're recording this. So
my son and I were looking out the window and we saw tiles flying off the roof to the building just past us that we look out on.
Yeah.
And we just saw the tiles go wee.
I showed Jared when he came over here, like, we have a little windmill that's in front of our house. We're in the country, so there's a well, and there's a little windmill that's over the well.
Yeah.
You know, over the well pump. So you know right where the well pump is.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's a steel, old-time windmill. Okay. And I got home today, and I'm looking at stuff, and I look out, and I'm like, where's the
windmill?
Where's the mill? Or where's the blades? The fan on the windmill? So then I went out and found it, and it was across the drive, past the garage, down the hill. So I took a picture and sent it, and I'm like,
"Oh my
there's something wrong with this picture." You see I mean, granted, I don't have like my nephew's yard that. I showed Jared pictures of.
He's got some work to do.
Yeah, like lots of trees down. I'm like, I don't have that.
Yeah,
but still, it's like a 24-inch diameter, heavy steel windmill blades that I'm assuming. I mean, we had 80, 90 mile an hour winds.
Oh yeah, upwards of 100. Yeah, so, they said
fast enough that I'm sure that thing came off and then
went flying. That could have been deadly.
I know.
Think about it. Oh my goodness.
It's a good thing I didn't have a car parked over there or anything, or didn't.
We had a motorcycle that got knocked down and slid into the truck it was sitting next to.
Yeah.
Because the winds were coming through.
I heard something when we were listening to the radio. They were telling people to wear helmets.
Mm-hmm.
Wear helmets?
Yeah.
What,
like if you're in a tornado, if you're in the path of the storm, get a helmet.
Just
because of the high winds.
Oh wow!
Blowing
debris.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would believe that. Yeah.
I'd never heard that before.
I hadn't heard that either.
It's smart though. I mean, if you think about it,
if you have a chin strap and then like you have the wrong kind of helmet and the wind catches it and then you're like.
Yeah, that would be good.
The weatherman is a murder man.
I think it's better just to stay inside. Luckily, my building is brick, so it's good and steady, and so. But it hits right across, right alongside my bedroom wall, and I was sleeping through it till all of a sudden about 8:30, this loud crack of thunder, and talk about jumping out of bed. First thing, it's just like rude awakening.
Yeah.
My son came in, he's all, "Are you awake now?" I'm like, yeah. I just gotta put my heart back in my chest.
Yeah, I was worried because they had there was reports that a tornado actually touched down just a little ways east of here. Yeah. I haven't seen that confirmed or not, but when I was looking at the radar and the pathway and everything, I'm like, well, if it did touch down, my house is like directly in line with there's a tornado on because of the direction that they said and location. I was like, if it's on the ground where supposedly it's on the ground, like as the crow flies, like a mile and a half west of my house, and it's moving east at 55 miles an hour.
Yeah, that's scary.
Well, hopefully my house is there when I get home.
Yeah. Well, I figure Mother Nature isn't the way I'm gonna go. She's had too many chances.
Yeah.
So
I don't. You may have just
yeah.
tempted fate.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know. It's going to be
No,
news tomorrow that everything was clear, and suddenly, snap tornado.
Yeah.
In the evening, and there was one car, and it was picked up and thrown off the highway. It looked like somebody physically grabbed it and picked it up and smashed it. You're like, see,
Yeah.
Lynn,
Yeah.
you said, "Oh, not Mother Nature."
No, growing up a military brat, I lived all over the world, so I've been through just about every natural disaster there been. I've been less than 3 feet from a lightning strike. I count that as close enough. So,
Yeah,
stuff like that. So, yeah.
I think the closest one we had, Jared and I, in high school, because we've been friends for a long time, lots of years.
Yeah.
And it was like, I have no idea how close it was, but it had
50 yards or less.
It had to. I mean, it might have been closer than that, but I know. Yeah, I figured it had to be at least that close.
Yeah.
Because it was, like there was a bunch of ground to air lightning.
Yeah.
And we were watching the storm, standing at his house, watching out the back window, and it was the flash, like boo,
Yeah.
right there,
Yeah.
like explosion, and like enough that the world, oh gosh, dang it, Pee Wee Herman.
Oh yeah.
When he's like, oh, light glasses, and he turns it on, and it's like the whole world's like rah, lit up. That's what happened.
Oh yeah.
It's in the middle of the night, and pooh.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I was at church camp. I was a counselor. It was one of the I did church camp several summers and everything. And the camp was known for lightning strikes.
Yeah.
So it had been lunchtime an hour already, but there was storms coming through, and they didn't want the kids out walking to the mess hall. And so we had them on it was a cement slab and 3 open sides with 1 wall, but it had a complete roof. So we had the kids there, and they were playing with some balls and stuff, and one of the balls had fallen off the cement slab. So I had stepped down to get it. I had just stepped back on the cement slab when lightning hit right where that ball was. And yeah, I mean, we had several really startled kids and had to calm several of them down. But
did you shake your fist and be like, you piece of crap?
But it was, you felt the wall of heat and electricity, and oh yeah, it was hair raising, literally.
Yeah, literally hair raising.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I've been. When we lived in the Philippines, we went through a tsunami, monsoons, typhoons, hurricanes, earthquakes. I was in that big one in Northridge. Yeah.
Did you ever stand on a mountain with a helmet and be like,
no,
north winds blow, south winds blow, typhoon, hurricanes, smog?
Yeah. No.
Reference?
But
Anybody? You guys get that?
Sorry.
Elmer Fudd.
Oh.
That's opera doc.
I haven't seen that.
If you're listening, hopefully you got that reference.
Yeah, no, that one was a new one
Bugs
on me.
Bunny.
I'm gonna have to go check
Bugs
that
Bunny
one out.
in opera when he's going after Bugs Bunny with his spilling magic helmet.
I'll have to look that one up.
You've never seen
No,
that
I haven't
doc?
seen that one. Oh no.
I have. I just didn't catch the reference.
Yeah,
Because
I'll
he
have
says
to.
all the,
wow.
typhoon, hurricanes, smog.
I'll have to check that one out. We'll have to do that one next time. But yeah. Anyway.
So
Yeah. Now that we've gone
jumping, now that we've gone down, I don't know
How
where
many
all we've
rabbit
gone.
tails?
But you have, when we had you on before and we talked about Duncan the Dragon, you had said, I never planned on writing a children's book.
Yep.
And then at that time you said, I probably won't write any more children's books. So how has that changed since then?
Well, a little bit of a story. My dad, he's a wood carver. I wish I could show you. He made this beautiful otter for me. But he had a friend that he liked prairie dogs. So he had carved a prairie dog. And this was soon after Duncan came out. It was the friend's birthday. And he says, I kind of want to send a story with it. So, about a wood carver and a prairie dog. So, hence, the idea has hatched for Percy the prairie dog and the wood carver. So, yeah, so it looks like I'm doing...
The prairie dog's nose doesn't grow, does it?
No, it doesn't.
And it doesn't want to be a real prairie dog.
No.
Okay, just check.
But, Dad had a few ideas, and I threw in some of my own, and he wanted specific things in the story for this particular friend that I wouldn't put in a children's book. I mean, not that they're bad, but a lot of technical stuff and everything else that he the way he wanted it. So, and my son piped up. He's all, you know what? That would make a great story. And my dad says, yeah, go ahead, use it. So, I've got the blurb with me and I'll read it here in a second, but that's kind of how it came about. And so I'm taking what he and I kind of did together, and we'll be adjusting it a little bit and everything else. And so the next one to come out will be Percy the prairie dog and the wood carver. So,
nice.
Yeah.
Nice. And so you said you do have...
I have
your
the book
little blurb.
Yes.
Okay, let's hear...
Yeah. Percy the prairie dog and the wood carver. In a quiet little town on the edge of wilderness, a lonely wood carver spends his days shaping life from fallen trees. His only companions, the whispering wind and scratching of his knife. But everything changes when he meets a wise old prairie dog who sees the world through knowing eyes and a gentle heart. As their friendship blossoms, the woodcarver begins crafting a wooden likeness of his new friend, pouring into the warmth and connection he never knew he needed. With each chiseled detail, he discovers that true companionship can be found in the most unexpected of places, and that sometimes the simplest friendships can carve the deepest meaning into our hearts. A touching tale of friendship, wisdom, and magic of creativity, Percy the Prairie Dog and the Woodcarver is a story for readers of all ages who believe in the beauty of unlikely bonds. So that's kind of...
I think that still sounds like the prairie dog wants to be a real prairie dog. If he tells a lie, his teeth will grow.
So, like I said, it's a work in progress, but yeah.
So can you give us any what kind of insights it's going into? So like this, Duncan the Dragon,
it's about persistence.
He can't find his fire and he needs to find his fire.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the story of him. What's
it's mostly, like it says, about friendship, accepting differences, those kind of themes. So, yeah, it's still getting there.
Gotcha.
Getting there. Yeah. Like I said, my dad wanted something very specific. So it's a jumping off point.
Will they battle an evil badger or anything like that?
No. They did fight off a rattlesnake in my dad's version. So, yeah. So
you got to have conflict.
Yes. Yeah. So I don't know if the rattlesnake's staying or not. But, it's possible. It's possible. So
who are... villains, Jared? We need
villains.
We need some villains that the woodcarver and the prairie dog can battle, can face down.
Well, one of them's loneliness. Definitely. They're going to find companionship. So that's one of them. But yeah.
The turtle of loneliness.
The turtle. But I like turtles. They're cute. But no.
But would you like the turtle of loneliness? Yeah. Maybe he's not cute.
Yeah, he could be. He could be. He could be a grumpy old snap turtle or something.
I mean, we had... there's all kinds of forest creatures, woodland creatures. Yes. It could be,
but yeah... Percy is being chased by a rattlesnake in the first version. So, yeah.
Maybe there's the chipmunk who chatters too much and he doesn't really have friends. He just, he's friends with other chipmunks, but he just likes to come up and chatter and not really doesn't really care about the wood carver.
Oh, that could
or
be.
the or
Prairie
Percy,
dog,
the
yeah.
prairie dog.
Yep. So
Percy
anyway,
can
I
always
know
be
for
like,
sure. Yeah. I know for sure Duncan's really bright and vibrant, and I think I want to go with the art in it, a little more muted palette, kind of a watercolor style drawings. So
a little bit more.
yeah.
Thanks for noticing
Yeah.
me.
Eeyore. I love Eeyore. But yeah, so I've got ideas and going and
So
everything.
do you have a target goal or timeline that you're trying to work towards?
Not really, because I'm really pushing Avalina right now.
Gotcha.
I've been working on that for almost 5 years now.
Forever.
Yes. But a lot of that took in the world building and getting it. And, back when I started with the Writers Guild in 2020, I think I told before about how I used to love to write and then I was discouraged and didn't for a long time. So, I just got back into it and it took a while to build the confidence to know, you really can do this type thing. And so I went into that and then, and then figuring it all out because it was all brand new. So, now I'm on a forward momentum and going. And so I want to get that done.
Yeah.
I've been working on it so long and it went from a trilogy to a 5-book series as it is. So, like your guys's went to 17 books when it's all said and done?
Forever.
Yeah.
Too much.
So, I want to get that momentum going. So I've got the idea. I make notes on it once in a while. Every once in a while I need to take a break from Avalina's adventure and so it gives me another thing to work on. And, you saw, we talked about OneNote and how I organize everything. And, each book idea has a new notebook and so I have lots to go on there. So it's definitely one of those things that.
So how is that coming along?
It's
because we talked after
Duncan,
we talked out. When did Duncan come out? Was
February.
it February? Okay,
yeah,
so because we
were
talked
on just before it came out because it was being released. Soon.
February 13th, right?
Yes, yeah.
So because you came on and we talked a little bit about your Jano writing.
Yes.
And your focus there because you were working with Duncan was done. You were just going through editing and illustrations and stuff. So Jano, you had that writing sprint.
Yes.
Where you pushed through the month of January to get.
And that was hard because afterwards I presented it to our group. And out of the 53,000 words that I wrote that month, about half of them were cut. The cuts were necessary,
But isn't it you're like, hey, look.
Yeah. Dad, you're cutting your baby's arm off.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer, again, Pee Wee Herman, only he's not Pee Wee Herman.
Yeah.
When he's dying and he's like, and then the credits come up and he's still, that's what it feels like.
Yeah.
You just keep going.
Yeah, I mean, the group gave me great feedback. It really did. And I do ultimately appreciate it. But, they're just, especially Liz, she's been on the show before. And she's really good at what's the point of this? Yeah. Is it necessary? I had a whole big scene with a little girl and it was a cute scene. Everybody liked it. But it's like, what's the point?
Yeah.
Is this little girl going to be important later? Well, no. Okay, throw it out, and then you're I was cutting your baby's arm off.
You're like, well, I was thinking of pulling that, but since you said it, no, I don't want to.
It's hard to do. It is. It's hard to cut those out. But, when you look at it honestly and look at the feedback honestly and everything, you've got a point. And it's filler to be filler. It's cute. It's fun, but it doesn't really move anything along. So, a good chunk of that writing got thrown out, so, it's kind of discouraging a little bit, but, I know it's going to give me ultimately a better story, a tighter story, a more engaging story. So it's for the good, but it's hard to do.
Yeah.
So, but I just keep pushing forward, and that's what you do. I was hoping to have it out by the OCW conference, the Ozark Creative Writers Conference in October. I don't think that's going to happen. So it's one of those that I just keep plugging away at it, but I want to see that one done. That's, and it's a lot bigger than a 500 word, children's book. So, that took a lot of that 53,000. I had 53,035 words. In January is what I ended up with, and about half of that is gone now.
Yeah. Well, that's 2 steps forward, 1 step back.
Yep. So
it's better than 1 step forward, 2 steps back.
Exactly. So there are some things. I ran into a couple issues. One of those, I think we talked about when we reviewed your stuff Saturday, was realistic travel times.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Because I all of a sudden had her going from one place to another, and I've got my map, and then it started hitting me. I'm well, how long does it take? How far is that? I've got an overall map, but what's the distance there? And then what's realistic for her to be able to travel in a, relatively real amount of time. I can't have her cross. And when I kind of figured it out, it was 100 miles, and I had her going 100 miles in one day without horse, without, cars or anything else, I'm like, that's not very realistic. So you have to go back and change it.
Because magic.
Yes.
That's why.
Yeah.
So you just put that in there.
But magic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like she went the whole, ran the whole way.
Yeah.
Some of the time she slept. She made it 100 miles in that one day.
Yep.
And the only answer is because magic.
Yep.
And then you move on.
Yeah. Oh, I feel that's a cop out though. You know.
No, we've had to do the same thing. Like we've scaled our map up and down and had to measure, talk through.
Yeah.
Even book one in A Flight from Shadows, where Tawara travels from Glen Heights or from Tradoc to Glen Heights. Mm-hmm. We're like, well, we said she was in a carriage for 5 days.
Yeah.
Well, what's that pace? And we have to scale our map to that.
Yeah.
And then when she leaves Glen Heights and travels to Samunas.
Yeah.
Like, and that's, 12 days?
I don't remember.
Something like that. We're like, well, that's a different route. Well, what's that in miles?
Yeah.
With this frequency of stops in a caravan with wagons.
Yeah. And then you pull out Google or Gemini or one of them, and how far can an average human walk in a day? Those kind of things. And you need those statistics. And then I had her dealing with money, so I had to come up with a money system. So that took a little while. So it's kind of there's been some stops and research and figuring and, because if it's not at least plausible, your fans are going to call you on it.
Yeah.
They're going to say, hey, you said she walked all this distance in a day, but then it took her a week to go here. And that's a shorter distance on your map.
Yeah. Well, like ours, we have like, we came up with, so here's chapter 3, the header for chapter 3 is the title of the chapter is Reunions, Cycle of Aerolith, year 12182. We came up with a 15 lunar cycle calendar.
Yeah.
And we're like, okay, how do these 15 lunar cycles coincide with our years? Which ones we got to know is winter, spring, summer, fall.
Yeah.
What is it like in winter, spring, summer, and fall in the different areas? There's high plains, there's, low deciduous area regions, there's all this different stuff. And then we're like, oh, it's so much work.
Yeah.
I mean, and just going through chapter 2 or book 2.
And you're doing high fantasy.
Yeah. So going through book 2 and because we had everything written in book 2 and then we had to completely reorganize it.
Yeah.
So like when we said, yay, we said the end on book 2 and it's written. And then we had to go back and be like,
Psych.
crap.
Yeah.
We got to refigure out this all our years and what time of years all this is happening.
Yeah.
And then we have 52 chapters as of right now, and a prologue and an epilogue, and we have these sayings at the beginning of every chapter. And we're like,
oh, yeah.
We got to put sayings at the beginning of 52 chapters.
Yeah, once you start something, your fans expect
I know.
it.
We're like, now we have to do this.
Yeah.
We can't not do this.
Yeah, exactly. I'm following, each of my chapters will have a little sketch drawing.
Yeah.
Kind of following after like Harry Potter, because I like those little sketches at the beginning of each chapter there. So I want to do something. And right now I'm pulling from AI just to get an idea and a filler, and then I'll actually hire someone to sketch them. But just to get an idea or have a filler one, I've pulled those off and figured those out. So yeah, go from there. And
yeah, it's that you do it once.
Yeah. I'm going to have
now
to do
it
it
has to
through
be
all 5 books.
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, when we talked about children's book, The Busy World of Richard Scarry.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. I hadn't heard
like,
of that one yet.
You've never?
No. There you go.
I think Lynn has never, she didn't see lightning. She never hasn't lived out from under a rock.
Yeah. But,
no, like The Busy World of Richard Scarry there's a little yellow bug.
Okay.
And like a little yellow, like.
In the worm, right?
Was there a worm?
You gotta have to realize I grew up overseas.
In the Mercer Mayer books, there was a little spider, and there was a little spot in the oh gosh dang it, we talked about it in the last episode. But the Mercer Mayer books, the little monster books, I'll have to look those up too. all the stories throughout the story, there would always be a little spider somewhere and another little thing. And then The Busy World of Richard Scarry, there was a little yellow bug.
Okay.
And he put it in all the images. I'm like,
okay.
Well, then you gotta find.
Yeah, like, then you're going.
Then
to
you're like, oh crap!
Yeah.
I didn't put the bug in there. You know, it's like doing Where's Waldo, and then being like, look, we made all this thing, and then someone is like,
there is no Waldo.
You didn't put Waldo, and you're like, oh crap! I forgot to put Waldo. We already published it, and Waldo. We'll just tell everybody that that's the really hard one.
Yeah.
1 in a million chance
super hard. Find it. Oh, but no, that's part of it.
Were you looking it up? Sorry,
yeah.
Were you looking that up? Was there a worm or just the bug?
In the World of Richard Scarry?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's the one where he's a worm that drives an apple.
Yeah, but I don't know if they had the worm anywhere there were cars, but I don't remember if the worm was driving the apple in every picture or in every page. I don't think so. But I think the little yellow bug was somewhere in every picture. It was like a Where's Waldo with the tiny little yellow bug.
Okay.
I mean, if it's not in all of them, it's in most of them.
Yeah. Unfortunately, growing up overseas, I wasn't exposed to a lot of that.
That's excuses. Yeah. Excuses. Growing up overseas under a rock.
Yeah.
Don't know Mercer Mayer, Richard Scarry.
Sorry, yeah.
You don't know
I wasn't exposed to a lot of that as a kid. It was different.
You don't know the Bugs Bunny?
Bugs Bunny, I know. Doc? Yeah, I haven't seen the opera doc, but I know Bugs Bunny, you know.
That's like when people say, what introduced you to opera? And it's like, Bugs Bunny and Elmer Fudd. You haven't seen Bugs Bunny?
Well, I know on Looney Tunes, they have the one guy who's always singing, Figaro, Figaro, Figaro.
No, this was Elmer Fudd, because Elmer Fudd's always hunting
rabbits.
Rabbits, and then Bugs Bunny is dressed in like he's got long golden hair and rides on the back of this horse around, and then it's literally opera.
Wow.
It's only 3 minutes long.
It's really, we'll have to look it up. Yeah,
Elmer Fudd rides, and he's like,
as they say, you'll have to edumacate me.
Yeah. Yeah, we're going to have to dive into this one.
So, yes, definitely a new one.
Yeah. I'm like,
No, I know Looney Tunes and everything else, but yeah, I remember the I think it was the crows that were always Figaro, 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 Figaro.
yeah.
Yeah, I remember that, but yeah, we did have Saturday morning cartoons, but well, the
You
few
got to
times we were
investigate
in the
these things.
States,
You're writing
yes.
children's books.
I know. It wasn't in the plan, but when things come, you just take them. You
Yeah.
don't say no. And so, I mean, this Duncan started out as a contest entry, and actually it started out at last year's Between the Pages.
Yeah.
I was introducing one of the speakers, and she does a lot of children's stuff and everything else. So I was sitting in on her session because I also had to watch time for her and a few other things. And someone took my mini recorder to another session so I could get the one that I really wanted because I hadn't planned on it. And she had us doing some writing. And one of the things I wrote there, kind of what ifs. And I wrote, what if a dragon couldn't breathe fire? And then that kind of stuck with me. And then later on, that was in June. And then in October, there's always the OCW conference, and they always have contests every year. They've got like 30 of them. So.
Yeah.
And so one of them was a kid's story, and I pulled that line out, what if? And that's where Duncan came in.
See, my what ifs, I wonder sometimes, and I've asked Jared this question where I'm like, am I a little bit psychotic or something? I don't know. Because Saturday, we had the Writers Guild Saturday.
Yes. Yeah.
And the topic was writing your memoir.
Yes.
And it was interesting, and I jotted down some things while the speaker was presenting. And then part of her presentation, she said, some people don't publish their memoir because they're afraid.
Yeah.
And there's different things they could be afraid of. And one of the fears is that you're going to publish something, and in your memoir, there will be things that talk about people.
Yeah. And offend them.
And they'll be offended or upset.
Yeah.
And so someone publishing their memoir, they'll hesitate to publish it.
Yeah.
And she said, some people, sometimes they're older people, and so they have to make the decision.
Yeah.
I'm going to wait to publish this memoir until those people have passed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then a what if came to me.
Uh-oh.
And I was like, well, what if there was a story about someone who was trying to write their memoir, and they found out that, or they realized there were going to be a whole bunch of people that would be offended and upset if they published this memoir. They didn't want to wait. So they came up with the solution. Well, what if they just murdered all the people so that way they could publish their memoir?
Oh, goodness. Yeah. No, that would be one heck of a story. Yeah.
I talked to, I shared that idea with my sister. She kind of has a twisted sense of humor.
Yeah.
The way I do. Maybe not quite as psycho as me. I don't know. But there's a show, Bernie, with Jack Black. Uh-huh. Jack Black plays Bernie. And it's based on a true story.
Yeah.
So it's based on a true story where...
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
but
it's comical and everything, but it's a dark comedy kind of thing. And then she dies, and he puts her body in the freezer and stuff, and in the end he gets caught prison and everything. Sorry if I'm spoiling it for anybody, but this whole story, I was like, you'd have to make this story about somebody writing their memoirs and doing all this in the way the story of Bernie with Jack Black.
Yeah, because if all these people died and then the memoir came out and they were connected to it, then they'd have to be, there'd
you
be,
could even have the person
the
get caught at the end, and they're sitting in jail, but they're fine because they're reading their own memoir. And they're like, this is really good.
Yeah.
I did such a good job from prison.
Yeah. Well, one of the OCW contests that I've already done for this year, they have a contest called Things That Go Bump in the Night, and had to be paranormal type thing. And not too long ago, the Writers Guild had the contest with the picture of the old piano. Do you remember that one?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I had entered it and I had a short little thing. Well, I could expand it to 3,000 words. And originally I had thought it would be, I had a little girl ghost playing the piano. And I thought, okay, she was, and she's dressed in like 1800s dress and everything. Yeah. And I thought, okay, maybe she was really sickly and couldn't go out to play. And so she's playing this piano to lure kids in to have someone to play with. Well, I started writing it to expand it with that idea. And it got twisted and dark fast. Now, it ended up, not spoiler or something, but she was left to die locked in the attic. And these kids had to find out what happened and why and everything else. These kids that she lured in and everything. I mean, I had no intention on it going so dark. But it's just like all of a sudden I'm just writing and it's just happening. And it's just, characters take a mind of their own.
Yeah.
And
sometimes they take a mind of their own and you're typing and you're like,
where is this coming from?
You're the psycho. How are my fingers typing this? They're a maniac. More.
Yeah. But it got dark fast.
Yeah.
It got really dark fast. And I was just like, whoa, where'd that come from?
Like, look at, there's Hardy Boys.
Yeah.
There's
Nancy Drew.
Yeah. And then like the Dollhouse Murders. Did you ever, like that story?
I've heard of them. I haven't. Yeah.
That, but you're like,
horror is not normally my thing.
Yeah, here's a little kid story about the dollhouse that shows how the murders took place. Yeah. Like, third grader. I'm like, in third grade. I'm like, wait a minute. Murders? Ghosts?
Exactly. And it's just one of those things. It's amazing. I mean, coming up with characters is one thing, and you have an idea of what they're going to be, and you get writing and they change, they morph on you right before your eyes, and you don't even consciously think of them changing.
Did they have the shows that came out of the scary stories to tell in the dark?
Yeah.
Like that was I read that literally like second grade.
Yeah.
Went to the library and saw them and I'm like, I know how to read.
Yeah.
That looks interesting. I'll just read this. Zombies, scarecrows that eat people.
Well, the Goosebumps series. My son used to get those all the time. Yeah. And the twists at the end. Every one of them had some kind of crazy twist.
Coincides with like my entire childhood.
Oh.
The ventriloquist dolls.
Oh, yeah.
My sister had one, and I'm like, oh, he did that thing. You walk like if I came in the room and it was in there, and
cover
it was
it
just
up.
me. No, I'd kick it and be like, get under the bed, whatever, blanket.
Yeah, but then it's under the bed.
Room. Yeah, but then I'm like, I'd have to be like, no, it can't. Like I can kick it across the room now. Just so I know when it comes to life, I can still kick it across the room. Yeah,
but you get that, okay, now it's under the bed. How do I get on my bed? You have to do the running leap thing, You can't let it grab your feet under the bed. Yeah. I remember doing that as a kid, you get scared about what's under the bed and you do that running leap thing onto the bed so they couldn't grab your feet.
Yeah. I don't know. I would get the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I don't know at what age I would be like, I have to go outside and bring in wood at night to load the fireplace. Or like, what if there's something under the bed? What if there's whatever?
Yeah.
And I would be like, scared out of my mind. Like my imagination's just going wild with anything. But I would have to be like, I don't care what it was. Yeah. Anything can, be a weapon. And I'm like, I have this pen, and I'd be like, I am getting out of the bed. And I would make myself get out of the bed and get under the bed.
Oh wow!
Look down and be like, if there's a monster under here, I'm gonna stab you in the face with this pen. If you come, like psych myself out to be like, if you like. Monster, if you try to get me, I'm taking your eyes. I'm gonna take your eyes with me. Or if I walked out to the
See
going out
me,
to the
I
wood.
just do the flying leap,
Bring it, like, literally.
Yeah.
You have to go out and go, like, around all the way at the end of
Yeah.
our barn and the other end to get wood. And
Oh,
bring
yeah.
it in, like, it's 10:30 at night.
Oh, yeah.
And it's dark and there's nobody out here. Then I'd be like, that's it. I'm holding all the wood, like, in this arm, and I'm gonna hold a stick with this arm. I'm gonna make myself walk really slow, and then look into the shadows, and even stop and be like, and talk out like, if something's out here, I know how to use a stick. You know, like I don't know at what age I started doing that.
Yeah.
But it was the.
I think being oblivious is better because looking back, some of the things that happened, like when we lived in the Philippines, we had a grass lawn that was probably as wide as this room, and then it was jungle. Yeah. And literal jungle. I mean, the wild animals, the monkeys. The monkeys would come out every once in a while, and they were fun because we'd throw leftover
monkeys will eat your face.
I know, but we were up on the second story. Because of the Philippines, it was so wet and rainy and everything else. The entire house was on the second floor.
Yeah.
And then there was a carport under half the house, and then there was inside storage, you know. And you had to go inside and up the stairs, and there was also a set of stairs on the back. Well, we were allowed to go out on the balcony there, but we couldn't go down when the monkeys were. Yeah. But what we didn't know about and didn't realize, but in the jungle were not only the wild animals, but the rebels.
Yeah.
And they actually would come out of the woods or the jungle. And the one time my dad didn't show up for work, you know, and everything, and he's military, they expect you to be there, you know, he didn't call in anything. They were coming out of the jungle and pouring ether in the air conditioning units and knocking people out and then robbing them. And that happened. And I was like third grade, so my brother would have been first grade. We're lucky they didn't take us.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I remember, and I didn't know how dangerous the situation was at the time. Now I've learned later as an adult, but I remember waking up to MPs carrying us out of the house. And when we started getting the fresh air, we started, you know, and everything else, but they had completely knocked us out.
Yeah.
All my dad's tools were gone, mine and my brother's bikes, everything. I mean, we lost a lot of stuff. But, you know, never really hit till much later. So I think that a bit of obliviousness as a child and innocence helped.
Well, that's, I mean, having that thought of there's monsters, you know, but not thinking like, what if there's like some psycho person who, you know, is walking down the street right over there.
Yeah. And I mean, we were always told not to go in the drain ditches because the flash floods that would come out of the mountains and stuff. And so, you know, we still crossed through the drain ditch, you know.
Well, plus if the jungle was right there and you're like, in the jungle, the lion sleeps tonight.
Exactly. And you know, we had a healthy fear of the wild animals, but how much more we didn't realize was there that was dangerous and everything. So, you know, sometimes being oblivious is a good thing, you know. So it could be pretty scary, but so when they were talking the memoirs and everything, some of those stories came out, and, you know, just kind of a list of some, and I've got them from all the places we lived overseas and everything. So, yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff that could come out of that. Children's books. Not just memoirs.
Yeah.
You should go back and pick little, you know, you're already on this path of, you're working on children's book number 2.
Yeah.
You could easily turn.
Oh yeah. And children's books can like turnkey. You could easily do a lot. They're quick. They're easy. Yeah. They're, well, not always ezy, but you know.
You could tell the story from the meme instead of the Easter bunny. The ether bunny.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah.
You see what's wrong with me here?
No, I love it.
This is what I'm talking about.
But, you know, it could be scary. It could be, you know, so it's one of those things. Addressing fears can definitely be an idea for kids' books too. So, yeah.
So, you know, we'll see over time. We'll see how many Lynn Combs children's books come out
So,
but you said this year you want to get
yeah, I'm focusing right now
Avalina.
on Avalina, getting that first draft done at least at the bare minimum. But I really wanted it out this year, but we'll see. It may still by the end of the year, so we'll see.
There's still a lot of year left.
There is still a lot of year left. So,
Don't put you can't use that to procrastinate.
No. Yeah. See, and I think that's part of what you need to do is get into a routine too. And, you work your day job, when I get one, you work, these hours. So you set aside time, so many hours, even if it's just an hour, you get up an hour earlier so you can do an hour of writing before work. Or
if I can just figure out how to not sleep at all.
Yeah. Well, you know.
I can just figure that out. It's so much more done, so much more writing.
Definitely. But
again, magic.
Yeah. I would almost think that you two being co-authors would feed off each other and actually push each other versus solo writing.
There's still jobs and sleep.
Oh, I know.
Has to happen.
Yeah. And you've got to coordinate
tornadoes and the hard work and hailstorms and home editions.
Yeah.
And
all that fun
all
stuff.
the stuff that comes
But
up.
I agree. But at least if you've got someone, I find if I have someone counting on me to be somewhere, I'm more likely to get up and get going and get doing, So, but when it's just me, I can lay in bed another 10 minutes, or
It's really
I can
easy
do this.
to be like,
Yeah.
I'm just going to lay here for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And you're like,
an hour later.
Well, it's 60 minutes later, and I'm supposed to be there in 45 minutes, so I guess I might as well lay here for another 25.
Yeah, exactly. and in that time, you could have done so much stuff.
Yes.
It's making it a priority and doing it. Yeah.
I get like more dreams.
Exactly.
And those dreams inspire me to come up with other psycho stories.
My problem is too many ideas and not enough time. I don't need more ideas yet, No, with being kids' books, if I ever went really, really dark, I would probably find a pen name or something. So I wouldn't want kids finding
instead of Lynn Combs, Lynn Stabs.
Yeah. Yeah. Something. Yeah, do something like that. I want to keep most of my writing as family friendly as possible. But well, with my cozy mystery series, as friendly as murder can be, Yeah. But most people watch like Murder, She Wrote, and they'll be okay with it. So that's kind of the route I'm going.
Murder, She Wrote, Saw. That's all the same thing.
No, definitely not. But yeah.
Well, we appreciate you coming on and chatting with us today.
Definitely.
So again, Duncan the Dragon finds his fire.
And Lynn Combs at lynncombs.com. So.
Lynncombs.com or author Lynn Combs?
Nope, just lynncombs.com. Yep.
Okay.
Honestly, author Lynn Combs will get you there too, but the primarily website is lynncombs.com.
Okay, so go check her out, lynncombs.com.
Yeah.
Again, Between the Pages coming up.
Yep.
Tremendicon. We're going to be at Tremendicon coming up.
Yeah.
So go
I'll have
see
to
us
get
there.
information. Maybe I'll join you there.
Yeah, it'll be. Xavier Kane was there last year. I don't know. I don't know if he's going to be. I haven't heard.
I think
from him.
Dwayne Laughlin was there too.
Yes.
Yeah. So
he was there last year too. So I'm assuming they might be there this year as well, but I don't know for sure.
Yeah. I wanted to check it out, but last year just didn't work for me. So
life gets in the way sometimes.
But yeah, now I've got a book and I've got the Pathway to Mystery too. So
up there.
Yep, right up there, right here. I also actually they're doing another anthology this year, so that'll be out later this year for sure.
Nice.
So I've got at least 2 stories in there, probably 3. So
nice.
Yeah.
So look for that.
Yeah.
Look for that.
Yeah.
And again, lynncombs.com.
Yep.
Spelled like that.
Yep.
Lynn Combs.
Yep.
Go check her out. You can get her book there.
And if you sign up for my email list, I've got a free ebook that I'm offering. Has 5 of my award-winning short stories in it. So those are all fantasy. I believe I called it Flights of Fantasy. So that's available too.
Nice.
So, yeah.
So go check that out. Go sign up and get a free ebook.
So definitely.
Okay. Well, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.
We appreciate it. We'll have you back on again soon.
Definitely.
And for you listening, watching, whatever, however you're taking us in, we appreciate you coming along for the ride. Till next time, go in good spirits. Thanks for listening to the Creators Guild podcast. Don't forget to get your copy of A Flight from Shadows, available on Amazon. While you're there, please rate it and give it a review. If you like the Creators Guild, please like and subscribe, and make sure to share it with your friends. Until next time, go in good spirits.